All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the second part of the show, we are now going to get into talking about the Packers. A couple things with them. Jordan Love returning to practice, as well as talking about the Packers' 16-10 victory over the Colts. So, Jordan Love, as of an hour ago, is in consideration for Week 3. He was a limited participant in Wednesday's practice, and he could have a chance to play against the Titans on Sunday, and this is according to Adam Schefter of ESPN. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays this week. One source tells Schefter it's definitely day by day, like Love said, and 50-50 at best right now. So, would I be surprised if he plays? No, but maybe the better thing is to maybe have him sit another week and then have him come back. But this is big news for the Packers because when that injury first happened, you thought the worst because Jordan Love was really writhing in pain. He didn't get up right away, and you thought the worst. You thought it was an ACL, and that ended up not being the case. The Packers avoided a major catastrophe. Now, he still ended up missing a game, but the Packers ended up winning that game, which, is very good because, you don't want to start off the season 0-2. And, I mean, obviously, if Jordan Love was out for the year, then, it's like, hey, this is what we got to do. But with your star quarterback out, you want to be able to tread water. And it doesn't seem like the Packers are really going to have to do that because now they just got to win here. And, they're going up against the Titans team where if Jordan Love doesn't play, the Titans have not looked great offensively. So that's a game maybe they could steal, and then you're 2-1, and Jordan Love comes back, and then you pick up from there. So, but yeah, this is very encouraging news for the Packers, and it's either he's going to come back this week or he's going to be back next week. That would be my guess. I would lean more towards he comes back next week, although I would like to see him play this week, but you want to make sure that he's fully healthy. I mean, he might not be fully healthy, but he might be close to that. So, I mean, that injury will probably still be lingering a little bit, but maybe you want to wait another week and then bring him back, which I think the Packers play the Vikings the following week, so that's going to be a very interesting game if Love comes back. Yeah, so they'll be playing, and that'll be at home. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Packers' schedule. They just beat the Colts. Then they have the Titans, who haven't looked great offensively. Then you got the Vikings at home, but the Vikings are not going to be an easy out. They've been a surprise so far. Then they got the Rams, who have just been ravaged by injury, so they should be able to win that game. You got the Cardinals and the Texans at home. Those are going to be two tough games. So, but the good thing for the Packers is they are at home. So, but good news on that front. But I wanted to get into talking about the Packers-Colts game. That's one of the few games we really didn't get a chance to talk about. But the Packers really had a good game plan going into this game. They ran the ball 53 times in total. And they ran the ball for 261 rushing yards. Josh Jacobs had 151 yards on the ground. Malik Willis had 41 yards on the ground. Jaden Reed had 37 yards. Marshawn Lloyd, who I think was placed on IR. So, behind Josh Jacobs, the running back situation is thin, the depth chart. Emmanuel Wilson had 9, and Bo Melton had 8. Their leading receiver was Romeo Doubs. He had 3 receptions for 62 yards, no touchdowns. Dontavian Wicks had a touchdown in this game. This was actually Malik Willis' first passing touchdown. Wicks had 3 receptions for 26 yards. And the score, Tucker Kraft, 2 for 16. Jaden Reed, definitely different from week 1 when he had 3 touchdowns. Only 2 receptions for 9 yards. Luke Musgrave had 1 for 6. And Marshawn Lloyd had 1 for 3. Jacobs actually fumbled at the goal line, so he's still looking for his first Packers touchdown. But other than that, he had a very good game. The Packers had 3 interceptions in this game. Xavier McKinney had 1, Evan Williams had 1, and also Eric Wilson had 1 as well. They only had 1 sack in this game, and it was by Devontae Wyatt. And then as for the Colts, Anthony Richardson was not good in this game. He went 17 of 34, 240 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions. Now, one of them came at the end of the game when he was trying to throw up a Hail Mary, so you kind of throw that one away, but still, he threw 3 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor only had 12 carries in this game for 103 yards. You'd like to see him get the ball more, but that wasn't the case. I mean, the Colts were down most of this game, but the game was never really out of reach. I mean, they were only down 10-0 at the half, and then the Packers only kicked 2 field goals in the second half. So, they had an opportunity to, still come back, but they didn't really lean on that running game as much as you would have liked to have seen. Alec Pierce was their leading receiver, 5 receptions for 56 yards and a touchdown. Jonathan Taylor had 2 receptions for 32 yards. Adonai Mitchell had 1 for 30. Mo Cox had 1 for 22. Michael Pittman's gotten off to a slow start. In total, he's got 7 receptions for 52 yards so far. So you'd also like to see him get the ball a little bit more, but not a good game for the Colts. Not a good game for the Colts. So Laiatu Latu, their first-round draft choice, was the guy that recovered the Jacobs fumble. Anthony Richardson fumbled twice in this game, but didn't lose him. Same thing with Jonathan Taylor. He fumbled once. No sacks in this game from the Colts defense. And DeForest Buckner got hurt in this game, so we'll keep an eye on what his status is for the game on Sunday when they take on the Bears, an offensive line that's not great. So, the Colts defense has been disappointing so far in these 2 games. That was a defense that people looked at as being underrated. I mean, they did only give up 16 points, but no sacks in the game. But credit to the Packers. They really had a game plan and they stuck to it. They ran the ball and it worked. Josh Jacobs had a good game. They really leaned upon him. He's dealing with a little bit of a back issue right now, but it doesn't seem like it's too big of a concern. But once they get Jordan Love back, I mean, we saw it a little bit in the game in Brazil, but it was still a messy game. I mean, this team is going to be very good this year. They're well coached. I give Matt LaFleur a lot of credit. I've been critical of him in years past, and I've mentioned this on the show before, but he's a good head coach. He is a good head coach. And, if they got to go one more week without Jordan Love, so be it. I mean, if they're 1-2, it's not a big deal, but, 2-1, you would love that, having Jordan Love step back in if this team, has a winning record. But, 1-2 is not the worst thing in the world. And the Packers, look at how they struggled in the middle of the season last year, and they rattled off a bunch of wins and got into the playoffs. So, even if Jordan Love missed an extended period of time, and if the Packers somehow found their way to, like 4-6, they could still make a run. But Jordan Love is going to be back sooner than that, and, at worst, they could be 1-2, or maybe he does play on Sunday. We'll have to see. But credit to Malik Willis. The Titans, they, got rid of him. The Packers, they took him in as a backup quarterback because that was, something that they needed to address before the season started. And, when he came in on that Hail Mary, he got sacked. And, many people were like, oh, he's getting the start on Sunday. The Packers got no chance. They're not going to win because, the games that he started for the Titans, he wasn't very good. But now he goes into a situation in Green Bay, different system, and he did what he was supposed to do. And, the Packers were comfortable that whole game. They had the lead. So he really wasn't asked to do much. They really put an emphasis on running the football, that was a great game plan. And on that Dontavian Wicks touchdown, I mean, he really threaded the needle because that could have been intercepted. But, congratulations to him. I think that was his first actual win, if I'm not mistaken. I know that was his first touchdown pass when he connected with Wicks early on in the game. So, congratulations to Malik Willis on getting the win. And, he didn't look bad. But he wasn't asked to do much. So, but that just goes to show you, the Packers are going to be a good team this year. And even without Jordan Love, at least for the moment, they were able to win a football game, despite not really throwing it that much. They ran the ball over 50 times. So, and the defense, played better than, last week against the Eagles, or now 2 weeks ago, almost. But as for the Colts, that wasn't great. That was not great. And I think this is kind of what we're going to see out of Anthony Richardson. One game he's going to look great, like he did against the Texans, and then against the Packers, looks pretty pedestrian, especially with the 3 interceptions. And, he's lucky that he recovered those 2 fumbles. So, but he's going to get better as the year goes on. But you'd like to see them run the ball more with Jonathan Taylor, maybe get Michael Pittman more involved in the offense. So, but we got to keep an eye on the status of DeForest Buckner because that's a big player on that defensive line. So, but yeah, that's my thoughts on the Packers. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think Jordan Love will play on Sunday, or do you think that they should wait another week? I would probably lean towards that, but again, I would love to see Jordan Love, no pun intended. I would love to see him play this week. But you got to make sure he's, close to 100%. And I think another week would be better for them. So before we go to break, I just want to remind you guys once again to tip or donate and get your comments recognized. Make sure to go to the $ icon in the chat. This will help create a super chat for you. Any thoughts or comments you may have throughout the show that I will acknowledge during the live broadcast. And it just makes the show more lively, more entertaining between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. We appreciate your guys' viewership each and every day. So any contribution you can make to the show means the world to us. Also, the other way to help out the show is by going to the link at the bottom of the show segment on the ticker, GSMCPodcast.net. So when we come back from our second break of the show, we will get into talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and their win against the Denver Broncos, another low-scoring game. And I did bet the under in that game. Now, my parlay did not hit because the Ravens lost to the Raiders. But another low-scoring game. Steelers got the win. And it seems like Justin Fields is going to once again be the starting quarterback for the Steelers. So we'll get into all that when we come back from our second break of the show. So with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.